Hey everyone, Terry Tomlinson here, and I wanted to talk about undertone today. I know I talk about color theory all the time, or at least most of the time, it seems, and I always talk about how important undertone is and how important it is to know your undertone. And yet I get asked all the time by people, both consumers and professionals, why? Why do I need to know the undertone of my skin or the skin in my chair? And so I thought we could talk about it in a video blog post. Excuse me, got an itch. So undertone is important because if you know the undertone of your skin, what you know is you know what the predominant color within your skin is. And then you can use color theory to glean all this information about how other colors are going to look on you and how to soften colors you don't want and emphasize colors that you do want. So it's like having the piece of the puzzle that allows you to see the whole picture. And from there, you can take this information and do with it whatever you want, but the information becomes available to you. When we talk about undertone, I think a lot of people get really confused and frustrated because they can't see their undertone. They think it's really hard to find. And the reason why is because the distinction between one undertone and the other is so slight. It's so tiny that sometimes it's hard to pick a specific color. Skin is made up of all color. And the undertone of your skin is simply the color that's most prominent, that's the strongest. And so the difference between someone like me who sits in yellow-orange, because I'm yellow, I'm golden, but I have a lot of pink in my face, so I sit here. But the difference between this and someone who sits over here in red-violet is just a slight degree of redness. And so a lot of people get really frustrated because they're like, well, I don't know, I'm orange, but I'm also red-orange, but maybe I'm yellow-orange. Well, it's because we're all color. So we just need to pick the one that's closest to us. And sometimes that's just about looking at your face, looking at your skin, and just saying, what's the first color I see? What's the first color that comes to mind? And then go from there. So when you look at me, I think the first thing you see is yellow, and then you see red. And so you know that I sit between yellow and red here, or actually probably between red-violet. You'll notice all of these colors are warm. So at least I know that, right? I know, hey, I have a warm skin tone, and that in itself gives me a lot of information. If the first thing you see is pink or coolness, then you probably sit down here. If the first thing you see is olive or yellow, but you don't see red, you probably sit right in here in the yellow to green section. Olive tone skins can be really hard to find because they don't always look olive. Sometimes they look yellow, but they just don't have a lot of red. So if you're a golden tone skin and you have red in your skin, you push over here to yellow, orange, and orange like me. But if you have a yellow tone skin and you don't have a lot of redness that shows, then you probably push over here towards olive. And you sit on that cusp between warm and cool, depending upon which way that tone goes. When we know whether we're warm or cool, that in itself tells us a lot. Even if you know I sit somewhere in here, what you know is that other colors that sit here will blend into your skin and look very natural on you. And colors that sit opposite, that sit down here, will give you a little more contrast. You'll see a little bit more of the edge of them. And we can use my shirt as an example. I have a yellow-orange skin, so I'm warm. And this blue shirt offers me contrast. So what happens is you really see the shirt. The color kind of pops on me. And it helps make my skin look more golden. It helps kind of pull the red out of my skin because it's down here, right? It's down here and it's contrasting with me. And so if I had on an orange shirt, which would be one step over from my skin tone, like over here, I would look a lot more red and a lot more warm because color borrows. And so if I wear colors that are similar to me, the tones of my skin seem to expand. And if I wear colors that are more opposite of me, the color of my skin is subdued. So that's really important information, and that's just knowing if you're warm or if you're cool. But if you can get specific and find your actual undertone, you have even more information. Let me explain this to you really quick. This is the Flesh Tone Color Wheel. It's a product that I invented and created, and I sell to consumers and makeup artists and retailers all over the world. Well, not all over the world, but I'm working on it. I sell it globally. And what it does is it shows you every option that a color wheel gives us, broken out into neutrals, into skin tones. And so instead of seeing just red, what you see is you see a neutral with a red undertone. And then we have 3 rings. We have one that shows you what a light would look like, a medium, and a deep. And so each section gives you 3 options of what a skin tone would look like with these different undertones. And so hopefully you'll be able to find yourself on the wheel by first determining which one of these rings is closest to you in depth. I'm right in between this light and this medium. But find the ring that's closest to you and then just follow it around until you see something that kind of matches your skin. And you'll see right here, right? Violet red is similar to me, but it's a little flat, I think. And then if you keep going, you'll see yellow orange. And actually I have a little tan, so I'm kind of sitting right in between these. Find yourself on the wheel, and then you know all kinds of stuff. Let's talk about what having specific knowledge of your undertone gives you. And we'll go back to me here. I sit about right here in yellow orange. So what I know about me, what color theory tells me about my skin, is that yellows and oranges are the most blendable colors I can wear. And I don't really love yellow on me. I love yellow. I think it's beautiful, but it kind of washes me out. And orange can also be hard for me to wear. It's got to be just the right orange, or it makes me look kind of pukey. So the colors that sit next to you are the most blendable to your skin tone, and most people find they don't really like to wear clothing colors like that. Makeup colors, I can wear orange tones, but I do better if I step 2 times away from my undertone into red oranges and reds and red violets. So what you'll find is wherever you sit on the wheel, once you get about 2 steps away from your undertone, those colors give you payoff. They show up a lot more on you, whether it's clothing or makeup colors, because they're just different enough from your skin. And so being over here, red oranges are really pretty on me, especially when I find like nudes that are this color, but reds are even better. And these are probably some of the best neutrals on me. These cool, kind of middle of the road red violets, these rosy browns. You also know that everything opposite gives you contrast, but what's directly opposite of you gives you the most pop. So for me, that is blue violet. I look really, really good in indigo and kind of that goddess blue that gets popular now and then. I also look very good in cool chocolate brown because it's a blue undertone of brown. So colors like this, I look really good in. And so what I know about contrast when you get to your opposite color is that this is the most contrasting color that you can wear. So if I want something to really pop or to really kind of show on my skin, I can go over here. This is especially true in lip colors. If I wear like a cooler, for me it would be something like this, like a cooler nude, it really does give me a lot of contrast. This is why I think it's important, because when you know your undertone, it's easier to pick out blushes. It's easier to know what a lipstick's gonna look like on you before you go buy it. I have a drawer of makeup that I bought and don't really like because, you know, I get it home and I'm like, don't love it. But if I applied color theory to those colors before I bought it, maybe I'd have better success. Maybe I wouldn't have so many mistakes in my drawer. And so what I encourage you to do is know your undertone, or at least know if you're warm or cool, and then gauge the other colors that you're interested in by that. So if it's just about warm and cool, I'm a warm skin, I see a really pretty blush, it really speaks to me. Where does it sit on the spectrum? Does it sit over here? I know these reds and red violets look really good on me. Does it sit over here? Is it a pop color for me? Is it a blue violet? Is it more of a violet? So it gives you so much more information, and I encourage you to use it. And once you get kind of used to using it with your skin, you can do the same thing with eye color. Go back here. And if you're reading my blog post, you know that I just released a series of pre-made eyeshadow palettes based on based on eye color. But you can also customize them. And if you can find your eye color here, or the undertone of your eye, so if you have a brown eye, is your brown more red, or is it more flecked with yellow and orange, or does it have green kind of olivey flecks in it? Those are things that you can utilize color theory with. So if you find your eye color on here, and I'm kind of right in here, I'm like a gray green, I probably sit somewhere in here. What you know are that the neutrals that sit next to your eye color, they help create the idea of eye color. They borrow eye color from you. And things that are opposite give you pop. So when you're going to put together some eyeshadows, you want to have neutrals that are undertoned the same color as your eye, because it'll borrow. So if I put blue tone browns around, or kind of mushrooms or taupes that have a blue to gray blue, green blue undertone, it creates the illusion that there's more blue to gray, more green to gray here. And then if I pop green by putting something opposite, which is going to run me in the reds to red oranges, so coppers, rose golds, think about what a rose gold is. It's yellow and pink mixed together, so it sits over here. So I can put colors that will pop and contrast my green eye, along with those that will borrow color with my green eye. And that's how you put together your eyeshadow palette. And I hope that made sense, because I feel like I kind of went woo woo. Anyway, color borrows, color pops. And so you can use this as a combination to put together colors that'll make your eyes just a little more brilliant. A couple of things, a couple of just words of advice. We talk so much about contrast and pop and making your eyes pop and making your skin pop. You do not want to wear a face of contrasting colors, because contrasting colors tend to show a harder edge to them. So for the lips, it's great because our lips already have a hard edge. For the eye line, that's great because our eyes already have that edge there, right? We're already using a lash line and an eye line. But if you have too many things that contrast on your face, it starts to break your face up and make your face look harsh. So you want to make sure that you're combining things that blend in with your skin and things that contrast to your skin. So I always wear around the eyes, when I'm looking for my borrowing colors, they're always naturals. They're always browns and natural tones that are undertoned properly. And then I might contrast a little on the lips, and then I might contrast a little bit on the cheeks, but you don't want too much contrast. What'll happen is you'll end up looking washed out and you'll feel dull, okay? I hope this is giving you some clarification about color theory and undertone and why it's important. I do love to talk about it because I think that it gives us a lot of tools. And I've spent enough time in the cosmetic and beauty industry to know that most consumers are confused because there's too much information out there. There are too many conflicting ideas and too many crazy trends coming and going and bouncing around. And it's hard to just know what's real and what's kind of the simple, basic, fundamental truth.